Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Team Talk Live. I am your host, Ann Dillard, and I'm so excited to be here with you. This is Thanksgiving week, and this episode of Team Talk Live, I'm going to be talking about what if I don't feel thankful, right? Looking at the holidays that's coming up, and so many people are anticipating the holidays. But you know what, there are some people who just are not anticipating the holidays, and they're not necessarily feeling thankful. They're not necessarily feeling like celebrating, right? There's so many people. Hey, Monica, thank you for joining. There's so many people who I know who've experienced loss and death in this year. And so I really want to dedicate this show to my family because we've lost we've had significant losses in our family this year, and I can imagine that some of our family members are not even feeling it, right? Not feeling like being thankful, not feeling like celebrating. Hey, Chris, thank you for joining. And so, what about those people who are not feeling particularly thankful or grateful right now? I want to talk about that for a little bit because it seems like the society says everybody needs to be thankful. You need to be happy right now. You need to be cheerful. And then that's compounded when somebody is not feeling that, then they have a certain level of guilt and shame that goes along with not feeling particularly thankful right now. So that's what I'm talking about. As you come in, let me know that you're here. Say hi and share this video out. And hopefully it will help somebody to get through these holiday season, right? So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what are some of the losses? And sometimes when we think about losses and we think about grieving, we only think about death as a loss. But there's so many losses that people have endured, right, throughout this year. So loss of job, that's a huge loss. Loss of a family member, whether it's because you have to move or you got involved in the court systems and your child was taken away, or maybe loss of a family member through miscarriages or death, incarceration. There's so many different ways that losses occur in our lives. But again, we primarily focus on death being the loss. So I want to caution you to look at your family, think about the teenagers in your family. And I speak about teenagers because that's my primary area of focus. But think about the people in your family who could have suffered loss this year, and not necessarily death, moving. We're still going through that transition of moving. That's a big loss. Loss of a relationship. Some teenagers may have even switched schools. That's a big loss as well, right? So think about loss from any kind of transitions that might have happened, and maybe not just from the standpoint of death, right? Hey, Marquita, thank you for being here. Hey, Bridget, thanks for being here. Hey, Chris, I'm so glad you all are joining me tonight. I am taking a look at what if I don't feel thankful, right? Looking at grief during the holidays. And what I started out saying is that we have had significant losses in our family. And I've had a lot of friends who've lost loved ones. And so I'm doing this live in honor of them. Hey, Pastor Tim, thank you for being here. So here's some things to look at. Hey, Latasha, thank you for being here. So, as we navigate the holiday season, and there's someone who's not particularly feeling thankful, I want to remind you to acknowledge that the holidays will be different and will be tough because of the transitions or the loss of that loved one. It'll be different and it'll be tough. And you don't have to avoid talking about your feelings. You don't have to stuff it and not even acknowledge that you've had a loss, right? Decide what holiday traditions you'll keep and which ones you'll change. Okay, so let's say, for example, if you lost a loved one and that person used to decorate the tree with that person, maybe you'll still decorate the tree, but maybe you'll do it in a different way, or maybe you won't decorate a tree, or maybe you'll choose not to have a tree, right? So think about the holidays and think about what traditions you'll keep and what traditions you will change and which ones you will just forego and not do anymore. And feel free to create new traditions in the memory of that loved one, right? Do something different. Create a new tradition, create a new memory. And another thing to do is to decide where you'll spend the holidays. I had this conversation with a friend recently, and she didn't want to necessarily be around people, not because she's depressed or anything like that, but she felt like, I just want some time to myself. So think about how you will spend the holidays. And and it's not a bad idea to check in with someone. Have somebody, a go-to person, a point person who checks in on you and who you check in with, because grief comes in waves and sometimes it comes in floods, right? And so you want to be able to check in with somebody or have somebody check on you to see how you are feeling and to see if you need additional support. That's always good to take the pulse of your grief to see where you are and if you need additional support. So remember that not everyone will be grieving the same way that you grieve. Everybody's grief is unique to everyone's experience. And so people have different ways of grieving and different lengths of time that it takes them to grieve. So grief is not a one size fit all. Okay. This is another suggestion that I really, really like that I found. It says put a memory stocking or a memory box or something special or other special place where you and others can write down the memory of the loved one and then select a time during the holidays when you'll get together and read those memories to talk about that loved one or to talk about that transition. A lot of times when we're grieving, people will say, oh, don't talk about it. Be strong, be strong. Well, crying, talking about it is not a sign of weakness. And I believe that you have to talk about it. You have to process it. Whichever way you choose to process it, you have to do that in order to be healthy, right? Because if you don't, you'll end up resorting to other methods of trying to feel good that could be more detrimental. Be honest. Tell people what you want to do and what you don't want to do. That's setting clear boundaries for yourself for the holidays, you know. And if you are the parent or the guardian of a teenager, listen to them. Listen to what they're saying that they might want to do or might not want to do, and help them navigate those times or those things that they feel like they don't want to do or that they want to do. One other activity, let me see if I can share my screen. I really, really like this. It's about journaling. Journaling is a really good way to get through, hey Carmen, to get through the holidays. And so I'm going to show you some journaling prompts here. I am hoping that you can see it. If you can see the journaling prompts, let me know if you can see it. Hey, thank you for joining. I'm not sure if it's showing or not. So I'm going to read some of these journaling prompts. I hope you can see them. The hardest time of day is, it's a really good prompt. I'm really missing blank. My support system includes, that's really good to know. Okay, Marquita, thank you for letting me know that you can see the journaling prompt. I really need more. I'm having a hard time with. These are excellent prompts to journal and to share with someone who might need some additional support during this time. I find it helpful when. I find it difficult when. Some of my grief triggers are, I am grateful for, and this one, my favorite memory of this person, put their name there, is. I think those are really, really great prompts to help writing and help journaling through this holiday. And again, remember what I said at the beginning of the broadcast, that grief does not have to do just with death, but consider somebody who is going through a loss or going through transitions. Think about those kids in the foster care system. If you have any of them in your care, they're also, having could be having a difficult time with grief and loss as well. Now, here is, I'm going to try to find another activity to share with you. I think this is a really great prompt too. This one talks about what I miss. I'm not sure if you can say, hey, Stephanie, thank you for joining. Hey, Val, thank you for being here. This one, I really, really like this one. It talks about what I miss. So it's like in the middle of the page, you write what I miss, and then you draw different lines out and encourage your teenager, your child to work through that. What do you miss? So if the grief or the transition is around, let's say, switching schools, or even changing jobs, or losing a job, or being sick, right? I found this tool, and I think it's a really great tool to use to say what I miss about this. This is a big loss. And so using it to prompt that discussion, or maybe not even a discussion, but getting that out of your system. If you think this is really interesting, or if you find that this might be useful, let me know in the comments. Tell me if you think that this could be a really useful tool during the holidays, right? And if you are the person who's going through grief and loss, okay, Stephanie, thank you. I really like this, and I like to use it with my families too. Like I was saying, if you are the person who's going through the grief or loss, or you're helping somebody navigate this time, here are a couple more things that you can do. Make a donation to a charity that was important to that person in their name, or buy a gift that you would have bought for that person and give it to somebody else, or donate it to a charity. I think that is a really, really good way to memorialize that person. Thank you, Latasha. I think that grief and loss is important to talk about. And a lot of times, if we try to condemn people who are not necessarily feeling happy, but if they don't process these things, they'll continue to not feel happy. And I think that sharing these tools hopefully will be helpful. Again, here's another tip. Don't feel guilty about skipping the events of the holidays. If it's too much for you, don't feel guilty about skipping out. And and check yourself for holiday overload. Are you going into holiday overload? Set your limits and stick to it, and be honest with those around you. That's really important. One suggestion somebody had, especially if you've lost someone, is to leave an empty table at this, an empty seat at the table. And some people might think that's too depressing, you know, but some people might find it to be a good way to memorialize that person that you've lost. Hey, Sister Ari, thank you so much for being here. And I have two more tips for you. And if you all are watching and you have some tips, drop them in the comment section. Ways that you've helped people get through grief and loss during the holidays. I think this is a really important topic. We don't talk about it enough. Grieving, it's an important part of the process of life. It's not a bad thing. Grieving is a result of losing something or someone you love, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a weak thing to experience grief. And grief will run its course. We can try to shove it down, we can try to avoid it, but either way, it will run its course. So my final two tips for you is to watch the food, watch the food, watch the food. Sometimes when people are feeling sad or lonely, or they're going through grief, carbohydrates are really, really attractive. So watch the food. It'll make you feel better short term in the moment, but then you have the potential to go into that cycle of feeling guilty, feeling badly, feeling shame because you've eaten too much, or you've tried to use the food to numb your feelings, and it's not going to work. It might feel good temporarily, but that's not a lasting remedy for grief, especially during the holidays. And then the other thing is to watch the alcohol. The alcohol, it'll become a fast friend really, really quick when you're grieving. But in the long run, it's not a wise thing to do. I shared some tips and some strategies to help you get through grief. Reach out to someone, reach out to a friend, let people know how you're feeling. Assign a holiday buddy to check on you, or someone you'll check in with throughout the holidays to let them know how you're feeling. And again, if you don't have a therapist, get a therapist or call a hotline, call the depression hotline and talk with someone, and know that nothing lasts forever. And whatever you're feeling, for whatever reason, you might not be thankful during this holiday season, you can get through it, and you are not alone. There's no shame, there's no guilt for you to bear during this holiday season. The best thing to do is to take care of yourself, put some strategies in place that will help you be healthy during this holiday season. Yes, Monica, watch the alcohol. It doesn't self-medicate. I mean, it feels good in the moment, but it can cost you in the long run, because it impairs your judgment. It really does impair your judgment. So yes, watching the alcohol is significant. So if you have any other tips, hey Jackie, thanks for joining. Any other suggestions about going through the holidays? I'm just going to recap a little bit. I'm talking about grief and loss, and I'm dedicating this show especially to my family, because we've had some significant losses this year. We've had loss of relationships, loss through death, loss through job, loss through transitions, loss through different living arrangements and placements. And so I want us to really look at those and pay attention to it, because everyone is not feeling thankful. Everyone is not feeling grateful. And the last thing we want to do during this holiday season is to put them in a place where they feel worse. Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm not going to stay on long with you tonight, but if you have any other suggestions on how people can get through this holiday season, drop them in the comment section, right? And feel free to share this video and let me know if you found this helpful. Again, I am Ann Dillard. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am here to transform minds and lives. I love you. Have a safe and happy holiday season. God bless. Bye-bye.